All right, we're back from closed session. Is there any reportable action, City Attorney?
No reportable action.
All right, thank you. With that, we will adjourn the closed session and reconvene for the Selma City Council regular meeting at 6 p.m. Okay, with that, we will begin our Selma City Council regular meeting. It's April 15th, 2024 at 6 p.m. in the Selma City Council chambers, 1710 Tucker Street in Selma, California. The teleconference phone number is 301-715-8592. The webinar ID is 891-6864-5005. When on the phone, if you wish to address the council during the public comment portion of the agenda, press star 9 to raise your hand and we will select you from the meeting queue. Press star 6 to unmute and mute yourself. Tonight's invocation is from Pastor Joe Alvarez of the Iglesia Antioquia. Welcome, Pastor. It's been a while.
Hello, everybody. And yes, it's been a while. I haven't seen some of you guys. Hope you guys are all doing good. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, we just thank you right now, Heavenly Father, for your gracious love. And once again, Heavenly Father, I want to just ask you to bless Israel, Heavenly Father, for what they're going through right now. In the name of Jesus. I also put this meeting, Heavenly Father, in your hands, asking you, Heavenly Father, just to, God, take control of this meeting, Heavenly Father, and do your way with us. In the name of Jesus Christ, we put everything in your hands, and we love you with all our hearts. Amen.
Amen. Let's please stand for the flag salute. Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Guerra,
Here.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro.
Here.
Councilmember Trujillo.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho.
Here.
Mayor Robertson.
Here. Potential conflicts of interest. Any council member has a potential conflict of interest may now identify the item and recuse themselves from discussing and voting on the matter. Agenda changes or deletions. To better accommodate members of the public or inconvenience in the order of presentation, items on the agenda may not be presented or acted on in the order listed. Additions to the agenda may be added only pursuant to California Government Code Section 54954.2b. Oral communications. At this time, notice to the public, any member of the public may address the city council regarding any item over which the council has jurisdiction. No action or discussion will be taken on any item not on the agenda. Issues raised will be referred to the city manager for review. Members of the public are asked to limit their remarks to 3 minutes and direct their comments only to the city council. Do we have any oral communications at this time?
Wesley Nelson, 413 Country Club Lane. If I may read this. I would like to thank those of you who supported and waived the fee for the Pride flag to be flown for 10 days in June 2024 at the Arts Center. This is appreciated more than we can ever express, as it shows those in the LGBT community and their families that Selma does care and supports them. We are not here to make trouble or cause any ill feelings. We are just here as loving family members, supported members of Selma, in my case, mother of an amazing gay son. Despite the many years of hardships Lance encountered in the Selma schools, he overcame this after many years and has finally proven to himself that he is worthy and loved for just being himself, and to see the Pride flag flown means so much to him and so many others. I would like to pay this kindness and support from you forward and help someone who might need a little assistance, maybe for a trade show or a fundraiser or something else they may be working on for Selma. And if there's someone that you know that might need some assistance, and then maybe they can reach out to me and I'll help them in any way I can. So I'd like to pay this forward. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Anyone else with any oral communications?
So Stella Ramirez, Selma, California. I wanted to find out about, I want to touch about on the finance director position, where we're at with that. If they're going to be hiring, if it's still on the, on announcing the job announcement, what's going on with that? Because we had to pay our taxes before the 10th. And, we could have, like I said, it was overseeing that amount. And we could have did anything else with that money besides pay extra taxes. So that's why I want to know, if a financial director is going to be hired, what's going to happen with that position? What's going on with that? Is there like a problem? Does it have to be revised, the job announcement? the candidates, why aren't they qualifying? You know, that's what I want to know, because maybe we can, I don't know, revise the job description. Maybe we can make it a little bit more appealing where people can apply for it. So that's where I'm at. Because I think that it's really important for us to have a financial director. It's not, you know, it's not just a title. It's a position that oversees, you know, the finance department. So that's what I want to find out. So yeah, thank you.
Ramirez. City Manager, did you want to address that question at this time? Or do you want to, usually you will bring a new hire to council, and so if you do hire a new finance director, I'm sure we will have that introduction. Did you want to address the question or make an appointment with staff or with the citizen at a later time?
No, I would just say the same thing that was reiterated at the previous meeting, that the recruitment is ongoing, and we've had many interviews and offers made, and you know, we're very hopeful. It's, you know, it's something I've discussed with other city managers, and the finance government professionals are in really short supply and in very high demand. And so it's just a matter of general, you know, government personnel scarcity. And so we'll keep turning over every stone. But as you'll see tonight, you know, with the audits and the lack of findings within that audit, it was a completely clean audit. You know, we're doing well in our finance department. Obviously, I would like to have a finance director, so we're going to keep working on that.
Thank you. Any other oral communications at this time? Do we have anybody online or on the phone who'd like to say anything?
As a reminder to those calling in, please use your raise your hand feature and we will add you to the meeting queue. For those calling in, please press *9 to raise your virtual hand. Mayor Robertson, at this time, I see no hands raised.
All right, thank you. With that, we will bring this back to the council and move on to our consent calendar because there are no special presentations scheduled tonight. On the consent calendar, all items listed are considered routine. The complete consent calendar will be enacted by one motion by roll call vote. For purposes of discussion, any council member may have an item removed from the consent calendar and made part of the regular agenda. The council can then approve the remainder of the consent calendar. Does council have any items or an item or items they would like removed from the consent calendar this evening? Is there a motion to approve items A through H?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho,
Yes.
Councilmember Guerra,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes. On to regular business. The first item is the presentation to accept fiscal year 2022-2023 financial statements with the independent auditor's report.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. It's my pleasure to introduce our auditing firm, or a representative of our auditing firm, Mr. Ryan Jolly, who's going to give an overview of our most recent financial audit for the 23 fiscal year. I would like to, first of all, before he begins, thank our finance staff and you know, just for the hard work that they've put in, not just for this particular audit, but in getting us caught up over the last year or so. I think this is the first time we've been current with our audits in a long time, and it has an impact on the city's ability to you know, use our resources, our fiscal resources more effectively when we know where we stand and our financials have been audited and we have clean audits. And I'd also like to, again, thank all the department heads for their assistance with this process as well. Without further ado, Mr. Jolly, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council, for having me here tonight. I could second what Fernando just mentioned. You guys are now current on your audits, and even though it feels like it may not be current, that we're in April of 2024, many of my cities haven't even started their 2023 audit, so you're actually ahead of most cities that I work with in the Central Valley. I'm going to go over some very high-level highlights, and then I'm available to address any specific questions you have. Just beyond the table of contents is the independent auditor's report. This is where we issued our opinion on the overall financials of the city. We once again issued an unqualified opinion, meaning we found the city's books and records to be in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Within that opinion it lays out the auditor's responsibilities, the city's responsibilities, and also the standards under which we audit. Getting into the body of the financial statements, I'm going to skip over the first two pages. Those are the government-wide kind of statement of assets and liabilities, and then also the overall revenues and expenses for the entire city. But on page 9, we get to where the general fund is, and this is the main operating fund of the city. This is shows the assets and liabilities of the general fund. And also on page 11, you'll notice the general fund had a net increase in fund balance of just over $1 million for the fiscal year, bringing the ending fund balance to just over 22 million. So the city's general fund is healthy and operating as.
Page
Your pages
86.
are different than ours.
Yeah. That's what are we looking at this page? Or are we looking at the one we
In
just?
the actual
It's the
audit.
same. So in the packet, it's page 86, what Mr. Jolly is referring to. And in the new packet you received, it would be page 11.
Another one?
Uh-huh.
Another new one? A revised one?
Apologize, Mr.
Oh, it's okay.
Jolly.
Find that.
Okay, here's the one. Okay.
Yours?
Everyone good there? Yeah, okay. So yeah, page 11 per the audit report. The fund balance of the general fund is just over 22 million. The other major funds listed there are all operating as intended. Getting into the enterprise funds, these are funds that operate off user charges. And looking at page 14, you'll notice that each of them basically broke even or also had an increase in the overall net position. And those funds are also operating as intended, and the revenues they're receiving are covering the current operating expenses. As we get beyond those financial statements, you get into the notes to the financial statements. This gives a more detailed explanation of all the significant asset and liability accounts of the city. Quite a bit of information included here to go over, but just one or two highlights is that we implemented a new GASB this year, GASB 96. This has to do with subscriptions, long-term subscriptions that the city has, where we book a liability for those and then amortize them. That's on page 49, so that's a new footnote this year. The city is meeting its current debt obligations. Those are being retired as scheduled per their amortization schedules. There's also a significant footnote in here on the overall pension liability for the city and the different inputs that go into that actuarial study, including the discount rate and the different factors that CalPERS uses to calculate that overall liability. Another one is the other post-employment benefits. This is retiree health insurance. Another actuarial study is done for that liability. And then each of these numbers kind of fluctuates from year to year depending on the overall discount rate they use and the different inputs they have for life expectancy and healthcare cost trends. Beyond the footnotes are some budget to actual comparisons. Gives a little brief summary of overall how the general fund did is compared with the budget to the actual. Then we get into some supplementary schedules of the pension plans and the other post-employment benefit liabilities that we're working our way up to a 10-year history of presenting. We've got 9 years presented now, so we'll eventually have 10 years of history presented there. And then towards the end of the financials, as we get into what we call the non-major funds, these are comprised of special revenue funds, debt service and capital projects funds. All of these are operating as intended as well, so nothing specific to highlight within those funds. Lastly, we issue a management report to the city council. This is our communication letting you know that we didn't have any difficulties in completing the audit. We didn't have any disagreements with management. Also highlights the new GASB that was implemented. And then lastly is the final audit report on the overall internal controls of the city. This is where we look at the various significant transaction classes of payroll, cash disbursements, cash receipts, making sure there's proper segregation of duties in each of those areas. Those are kind of the main three ones that we typically focus on. And so once again, a clean audit opinion for that as well. No significant deficiencies or material weaknesses identified. So yeah, with that, I'd also like to just say thank you to the staff for their hard work getting this done, working closely with us and Price Page to get it. I can now take any specific questions you have.
Does council have any questions for Mr. Jolly?
Mr. Jolly, can you give me the interpretation of Prop 68?
Prop 68. Are you referring to GASB 68
Or
or Prop
GAS
68?
Well, I'm just, in the audit, I was just looking at,
Oh, okay. Is it the pension liabilities?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, GASB 68. Yeah.
okay,
Sorry, I was thinking of a proposition. I'm like, I don't know that one. Okay, if you go to page, starting on, of the audited financials, starting on page 51. You get first into the kind of the benefits being provided by the city. Retirement age, and also
There it
the
is.
discount rates. Are you there? Were you able to find that page? Okay. And then going on to the next page, there's some timing differences with from when the audited financials are done to when the actuarial study is done. The measurement date is a year behind. And so that's what these deferred inflows and deferred outflows are. There are different timing difference on the contributions that you made this fiscal year. Change in employer's proportion, that's kind of a proportionate amount they look at in total to the whole, to everyone that's in CalPERS. And so that's kind of what that section is there on page 52. Page 53 is some additional assumptions, inflation, payroll growth rate, and discount rate. 54 is the discount, how they come up with the discount rate based on different asset classes that they invest the funds in. And then page 55 shows a little bit how significantly the pension liability can be affected by a 1% increase or a 1% decrease in that discount rate. Right now, your current discount rate is 6.9%, and that's a pension liability of just over 19 million.
Yeah.
With a 1% increase, that liability drops by almost 8 million. With a 1% decrease, it jumps up to lots of variables in this. It's just it's more of a it's a guide for the city to kind of watch and kind of use in their budgeting, but there's a lot of factors. It's not a set in stone figure of
Right.
liability for the city.
so that's pretty much the it fluctuates
Yeah,
with
and
the
every year
amounts.
we have to kind of,
Mm.
it can have a little bit of a effect on your overall, what the book show is like a profit or loss for the year, because sometimes there could be a swing and we have to recognize that in the year it happens. So sometimes it's favorable for the city, sometimes it looks unfavorable, but that does have an effect on the financial statements.
Well, I definitely want to say I'm happy the city got its audited financials after 2 years. Very important to have that so that people can see what the city's finances are doing with their taxpayer money. I'm looking at page 65 of yours and page 140 of the council book. It says it's called a budgetary comparison schedule at the top for the general fund. So the question I have as we go down the sheet is under revenues, the budgeted amount was $20,179,785. The actual was $17,998,503. With, that means the revenues were short by $2,181,000. And it looks like the main difference there is the intergovernmental. What is that?
That's grants. And so that one can be a little bit tricky at times because the way we recognize revenues is based on when the funds are spent. And sometimes, depending on how it was budgeted, this could have been more on awards or expected money coming in, not necessarily when the money was spent. So that's all, that line item all has to do with grant revenue.
My next kind of feeds into my next question and why we got the change today for this council meeting. It changed from what the Parks grant of 4.5 million to a capital projects number of 4.5 million. Did that actually still include that? Was it Prop 68? Was that the 4.5 million that included, or what was that? Was that for the fire station? The 4.5 million that's included
Yeah.
in that?
Yeah, and that
category?
was being reclassified. I think we were mainly focused on the restriction and the renaming of the fund, breaking that out.
And I can help clarify that. That amount, the full amount is what was received from the state for the fire station. Essentially, it was just mislabeled. The Prop 68 grant is a reimbursement basis grant, so we get reimbursed as we spend on that. So it wouldn't reflect as the total amount on the grant in our financial
And
statement.
how is that carried on the financials? How is that Prop 68 grant carried on the financials?
Here, let me refresh my memory on prop.
Because you had Prop 68 there, and then you had it was mislabeled. Where was is the Prop 68 carried somewhere else?
Well, it would show as a revenue when we're reimbursed. And
Yeah, what we do is we recognize the revenue as we spend the money.
So it's unrecognized revenue, but I mean, I'm just asking how you account for that.
no, it's not unrecognized. I mean, there's a fund for grants where that money would be recognized in. And then the expenditures for that particular grant would also ultimately come either out of there or the general fund.
Okay, so where would that be? Where would it be on this audited financial statement?
Do you remember what? Or- Page 9 of the audit report. State fund and capital projects fund.
Page 9.
Yeah, that's the 4.4 million that's restricted for public safety,
Public safety?
fire.
I'm asking about the park.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
I was
that's
thinking
okay.
fire.
The Prop 6, I'm asking about where the Prop 68 is listed.
No, I don't have it labeled here.
I'm looking under fund balances for recreation, and there's a 4.390 million entry. Perhaps that's it? Yeah, and it's Prop 68 park grant up there. I think I found it.
Page are you
Yeah,
on?
page 9. If you go 3/4 of the page down, look under recreation, and then look up to Prop 68. Looks like that matches. That's where it's carried. Under governmental funds.
So that's still the park grant, right?
That would be it, yeah.
Still the park grant?
Yeah.
That one would be, but the previous one was not. The previous one that was referenced by the mayor.
Nine under where are you looking at?
Page 9, if you look under recreation and then look all the way over, well, 3/4 the way over.
So it's local street and then Prop 68,
Yeah, look up, it's reference, Prop
Grant.
68 is your Y, recreation is your X.
Showing that. I wonder if that.
I guess I'm just wondering, just because it hasn't been spent, it hasn't been reimbursed, just how it was. Sometimes you cover it as a liability in some businesses when you don't actually spend it.
Yeah, I mean, we've spent, actually, I think we've submitted, some reimbursement requests for that, not for the full amount because the project hasn't been completed, obviously. But it wouldn't necessarily show the full amount of the grant because the revenues haven't been received to total that amount, nor the
What's the full amount of the
expenditures.
grant, city manager?
It was about 4.4 million.
So this is as of 7/1/23. This is 22/23. So as of 7/1/23, the city had spent about 10 grand of that grant.
Oh, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. Yeah.
So going back, that sounds good. So going back to page 65, intergovernmental, the grants that didn't pan out, do you have that level of detail, Mr. Jolly?
No, I don't.
Okay. But some of the grants didn't pan out. That's what it is. The city didn't receive
Yeah.
those grants
Or
either.
the way we
in that
recognize the
time frame.
revenue, yeah, in the
Okay.
time frame, yeah.
And then if you don't mind, we could cruise down to expenditures. And if you look at the expenditures that were budgeted of $24,485,885, the actual expenditures were $30,962,551. So that's a 25% swing in expenditures. And I'm looking, that's a pretty big swing for a small city. Going back to expenditures, general government, public safety, public works, community development, recreation, and capital outlay. It looks like the biggest difference is in public safety. Is that salaries? Are those all salaries?
Not all salaries,
But I mean, that's a $6.6 million swing.
I'm trying to think what's in that. I'd have to get that detail for you. I don't have it here.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to know what percentage those are salaries. Because I know there was a pretty substantial raise given in 22. And I think that would probably be tied to this, but,
We can
and
give
now
you
we're
the-
seeing evidence of exactly how much that cost the city. So I would like,
Yeah, I'll see what the grouping
Know
is
that.
of what's included in there and we'll break it down to a couple different.
okay, thank you on that. So if you go down and you keep looking, I mean, if the city just stopped there at revenues, taxes, licenses and the like, and expenditures, salaries and department expenses, operating expenses, the city would have had a deficit of nearly $13 million. So what saved the city was an operating transfers in of 13 million, almost $14 million, which left the city with $1 million. My question is, what were those operating transfers in? And do we have a breakout of those
On,
operating
page
transfers?
41.
Okay. Yeah, I'm on page 41.
there's lots of different transfers there. Those would have all pretty much been in line with the budgeting. Let's see.
Got it. Yeah, that balance is 13,904,830, which consists of the street maintenance special revenue fund. Okay, let me go back. The operating transfers in of 13,904,830. Some of those are restricted and some of those are non-restricted. Is that correct?
For the general,
Yep.
yes, yeah, the way they're transferred in, they're spent on specific.
All of them?
Uh,
Each one?
I don't know if each one, it depends on, but they're all like, the streets would be, debt service. Yeah, they probably all are restricted to, they're being transferred in for a specific purpose.
Okay. So then they wouldn't come in and just pay for salaries.
No,
You couldn't just, buy street signs with them. Got it. They have a specific purpose. And that's the amount that brought the city back to not being in deficit for the budget. And that's 13,904,830.
Well, the budget is developed with these transfers already they're accounted for. When we develop the budget, we know exactly what's paying for salaries, what's paying for operating expenses, what's paying for equipment. And so this is just a reflection of how those transfers actually played out consistent with the budget. So there was no deficit that we were not aware of that we had to be saved, as the mayor characterized it. It's just how the budget was developed and then how the cash flow and revenues and expenditures actually played out.
Got that. So the intergovernmental difference of 3.2 million, that was all planned out as well?
which one are you looking at?
Back up to the intergovernmental for the receipts, the revenues. So it was planned that would change. Because the actual was 71,000 and the budgeted was 3,306,000.
We'd have to see what was budgeted, yeah, we'd have to.
So, I guess since this has all been planned ahead of time, the 3 million was plugged in, knowing that it was gonna be 71,000 and that the operating transfers in were also planned to bring it back beyond the deficit, so it wouldn't show a deficit? Or was the intergovernmental, was that fortuitous? Did that just happen during the budget year? I'm trying to get a sense how the budget's developed and how it plays out.
Manager mentioned, it's all of these transfers, everything is budgeted. There are funds from other, that comes in from other sources that are transferred into the general fund to cover those expenses. So, that's kind of what you're going through right now is the budgeting process. So these are all, like you said, they're discussed, they're timing, the actual accounting sometimes doesn't always match up with the budget. So it's not it's hard to, sometimes this is unfortunately not, a great schedule to look at because it's just the accounting and the budget are looked at differently and just the timing of things don't always work out. And that's where sometimes even cities do, like that final column, they'll actually just at the end of the year, look at what actually happened and do a budget amendment to the actual numbers. And then so that your budget does match your actual. Because some of this, the budget was done based on a lot of, assumptions and without all the information in place. There are some variances there and I don't have the detail of all, that budget document is.
So there's a fair amount of work done after the budget year is done on the budget itself
Yeah, a lot of
before
things
you
that
get the
just don't
numbers.
align with what you maybe thought was gonna happen when you pass, you're looking at passing a budget at the beginning of the year and these are all end of year numbers, so there's.
And I think that's what's important for the council to understand. So the audit is a backward-looking document, whereas the budget is a forward-looking projection. And at some point, they have to reconcile. But the purpose of the audit is not necessarily to reconcile, it's to see where the city's fiscal position ended after the budget played out, their expenditures in the budget played out. So, yeah, I think ultimately, you know, we had a surplus of over $1 million at the end of the year, which means that we actually did better in our budget than what was expected. So, yeah, that's ultimately how it played out.
I'm just looking at the surplus and it's with restricted money, so it's not necessarily with potential money that could be spent in any way. The city council allocates that money. So there's some qualifications there, and there's some pretty wide discrepancies. That's what got my attention. That's why I wanted to call the city's attention to it at an open session meeting. Also, my final question, where would the legal judgments against the city be listed? Litigation, insurance?
We would only recognize those when we confirm with the attorneys, if there's if it's pretty much determined that you're gonna pay out a certain amount, then we didn't have any, potential litigation.
You don't put
liability.
potential as a potential liability. You
No,
wait
no.
until it's actually paid out.
Not even until it's actually, like, if we know there's a judgment, then we will accrue that. But there is a footnote that kind of addresses that on risk, and page 61. We kind of do a more of a general commitment litigation footnote, but we will only recognize a liability once we know that a judgment.
My county professor told me to go right to the footnotes every time, so I appreciate that. Good old Professor McGow. Thanks for reminding me of that. I'm looking at your footnotes and I will reread them. Thank you for answering my questions. You have something, Councilmember?
I just
Garrett?
want to mention, so it's fair to say that when we're doing our budget this coming May, right? We'll be able to see all the funds, the balances, and then we kind of do the calculation at that time of how much funds will be allocated to salary and then what's coming out of Measure S,
Yeah, we do that every year.
Okay.
Mhm.
Public have anything they'd like to say? Any questions on the budget? I'm sorry, the audit? Anyone online or on the phone with questions about the 2022-2023 fiscal year audit?
Mayor Robertson, at this time, I see no hands raised.
Great, thank you. And Mr. Jolly, thank you for all your work on this. Thank you to staff. Thank you to the finance department. Thank you to the city manager and everyone else for their input on this. I do look forward to you letting me know how
I'll get
much
yeah,
that
we'll
is
get everything
salaries.
Down to that. Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Have a good evening.
You too. Okay, this is a information item. Is this something we need to vote on to accept the audit report? Is there a motion to accept the audit report?
I
I'll make a motion.
Okay, looks like we had a tie. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Guerra,
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes. Number 2, discussion regarding special recognition request.
Mayor and members of the council, one of Selma's own, Richard Figueroa, as you know, won the national title at the NCAA championships. I know we are extremely proud of his accomplishment and the pride that it brings to the community. During the previous council meeting, Councilmember Guerra discussed ways to commemorate Mr. Figueroa's achievement, and she discussed the option of a parade. But in reviewing a parade route, a few logistical concerns were raised, specifically with safety impacts associated with conducting a parade on High Street during the Raisin Festival. That isn't stopping the city staff and chamber from exploring alternative options, such as possibly rescheduling the parade or hosting a recognition event exclusively at the Raisin Festival. City staff and the chamber are extremely proactive in ensuring that a successful event that prioritizes safety and community involvement is had, while at the same time understanding that there is a strong commitment from the wrestling community and from the city overall in celebrating the excellence and supporting its members and the amazing accomplishment, which also fosters a sense of unity and pride within the city of Selma. So at this point, we are seeking input and guidance to further, to effectively honor and celebrate Mr. Figueroa's achievement.
Sounds good. Thanks for your report. Do we have any input on this?
Yes, I'd like to start. Want to thank Raina for your work and helping getting this together. I know this is coming from our community, a lot of the citizens, and especially the wrestling family. They would like to see something, for us to honor Richard Figueroa in this amazing, accomplishment. Not too many kids here in Selma become NCAA championships. So I think as a community, we want to do something great for him, and understanding that he's currently not here, he's away at school. But Mom did mention to me that he is coming on May 3rd, which is a Friday, I believe, and the school is going to honor him at the Selma Kingsford baseball game. So they're gonna do something for him there. And then we talked about maybe, that's when we did talk about the parade, maybe just doing something small to, on High Street, and then kind of get him over to the Lincoln Park to honor him with a certificate that the mayor recommended to do. Or seeing that we probably can't close off High Street, that because of the Raisin Festival, maybe just honoring him that day and then honoring him for the Rotary Parade as the Grand Marshal. I think that would be a great idea if we can, or, at least have him in the parade. But I think that just doing a great event for him is well-deserved. And I think that that's one thing about Selma, is when we do something, we go big. And he's earned it. And I think we should showcase that. So, I mean, those are my suggestions. I know that, and I understand blocking the street is going to probably be a safety issue for that day because of the Raisin Festival. So, I mean, if anybody else has any input, I'd like to hear it.
I think recognizing him and following through with what you just stated, I think you stated just about everything. I think why reiterate what you stated? I think everything that you have stated is something that we should do. I don't think that a parade should be out of the question. I think that's actually the first thing that should be done. I don't know what the logistics are to make sure that it works out, but I'm in favor of everything you've actually stated. I think that in order for us to get the youth to understand that they need to get involved in our community, we need to reflect that same, and we need to participate. So anything that Councilwoman Guerra would recommend, since you brought it, would be, I would favor that. I do believe that our city should get involved, and we should, get him to be recognized in all events. But logistically, where's it gonna put us to meet with everybody so they can approve it? I mean, so that's the logistic part. So, but I'm in favor of, just about everything.
So I think what I'm hearing, if correct me if I'm wrong, so were you suggesting, Councilmember Guerra, after the Selma Kingsburg game, to somehow be able to transport him to Lincoln Park and then recognize him with the certificate of recognition from the mayor at the Raisin Festival at that point?
Um,
And then also include him as a grand marshal at the Rotary Band Parade?
Right, that's, I think, what the conclusion from Raina stated, that we could not close off High Street because of the other closures, the other streets that are going to be closed. So I was just trying to figure out, is there a way, can we close High Street just to let him come through, you know, and then honor him at the band fest or the Lincoln Park? But, I mean, I don't, you know.
Just to clarify, it wouldn't be from the mayor, it'd be from the whole city council, the certificate of recognition signed by the city
Sure.
council. Whoever wants to sign it and take part in it, and I certainly do. But, like the police chief has some input over there.
My apologies, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, but it would be nice to have his father who works for us and is a police sergeant drive him from the ball game
Oh,
to
there
the
you
parade.
go.
And I think that would be very special for not just Richard Junior, but Richard Senior as
Senior,
well.
yeah.
And I
Nice.
think that'd be a great
Absolutely.
recognition. Then we could quench all the safety concerns. Just getting him to the park for the introduction of the award.
In a police
My-
vehicle.
It would absolutely be one of our new police vehicles with its new wrap.
Question, I think we have the organizer of the Raisin Festival here. Have we vetted this with the Raisin Festival and the chamber who puts on the Raisin Festival? I guess we're discussing that, but I think we would need to coordinate that with Ms. Tucker and, in the Raisin Festival.
Ms. Tucker, do you have any input? Feel free to come to the podium.
We're more than happy to arrange for him to come to the Raisin Festival, to the bandstand and present, you know, whatever certificates you have. I'm not, we have some entertainment planned for Friday and Saturday, so we would just need to work around that, but we're happy to do that. I think the parade would be a little difficult in the middle of the band festival, but again, I mean, we don't have a lot of extra manpower to put on that parade. So if you decide on the parade, are you looking at doing this Friday?
Friday.
Friday,
Mhm.
okay.
Since you wear multiple hats, Ms. Tucker, maybe the Rotary, since it has the parade every year, maybe he could serve some sort of function and maybe kick off the parade or go through the parade.
We would
Is there-
love to have him in our parade. We have a grand marshal
Mhm.
already this year, but we could certainly honor him. We might even be able to stop his car at the reviewing stand and, you know, talk about him for a little while.
I'm sure Randy McFarland could do that.
I'm sure he could. So, I mean, we're happy to do that. We'd love to have him in our parade.
Hmm.
Sounds great.
So we'll be happy to work with the city, whatever we need to do to make that happen.
Sounds like we're all on the same page here. We just need to coordinate it with.
I
figure
just
out
think that, Chief, if we could find out, because I know that the kids, the wrestling, but their families and all the kids, I think they wanted to do like, a big diesel type where they can all be together and honor him. I'm just, these are just ideas that people were telling me. So would that still be something that they could do, or you don't think they could do that?
Council, on short notice like this, I think it'd be difficult to pull that together. And I don't mean to put on the parade, but May is a very, very demanding month for us. We have, it's National Peace Officer Memorial Week.
Mm.
We have ceremonies in Sacramento, in Fresno, in Washington, DC, in Palm Springs, and we're trying to get staff to all those places to represent Gonzalo, where he'll be recognized and taken into those memorials, accepted into those memorials. So we have staff that's just being very spread thin. Plus we have staff at the Raisin Festival for safety purposes. So it would just be difficult to get that for the safety of those children. I really think that I think that's a wonderful idea, is having them recognized at the band festival and maybe that diesel at that time and having to, and do something. This way, the wrestling team has some time to really do something extraordinary, right? And put together that, a float that
Yeah.
not only will be recognized here by our Selma community, but the beauty of the band festival, it reaches beyond our region,
Mhm.
right? And we get to show the region one of our shining stars. So I think it'd be better served. I know it's very kind of, you want to do it now,
Right.
but to give him this, the honor that he deserves, because he's worked his whole life
Sure.
to achieve that, I think it commands, you know, some well thought out planning
Okay.
and representation of all that hard work. Just my 2 cents, ma'am.
Right. No, that's fine. I mean, that's why I asked. And I know that the school also wanted to get involved, and that was something that I think, Raina, were you able to reach out or find out? Okay. So, I mean, it's a town, everybody wants to get, collaborate and honor him. And I think that's a great thing to do because we're setting a great example just, for him and then the kids that are also, gonna see this and they're gonna think, oh, one day I want to be there. And I think it just really sets a great tone for our community. But, okay, so I think that, I mean, if anybody else, Deb or Blanca?
I just wanted to say, I know that the Rotary Club, I know it was a good suggestion as far as being a grand marshal, but I think they have a process that they do, which it sounds like they do things way ahead of time and they know who's gonna be in the parade to do certain things. I know with the chamber, they work close with the chamber as far as employee of the year, young citizen of the year and all of the different recognitions. So, but I think that, timing wise, I think that October would probably be better, and then that way they can have an entry at that time and then make it a little bit more, you know, the planning would be better because then that way, like they mentioned, the wrestling, the wrestling community basically can, support him. And then also, we do showcase one of our own and with all the surrounding communities and that they know that that could be me, that those young kids can say, hey, that can be me one day. And so I think that that's a great idea. Thank you.
Okay, that will continue to coordinate this and we'll move on with our next agenda item. And our next agenda item is the police annual report.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. In front of you, we printed up this PDF document, which is really just a PDF format of the PowerPoint presentation. Randy, if you can go ahead and. So what this annual report is going to encompass, it's going to show our 2022 final numbers with respect to Part 1 crime stats that we report to the Department of Justice and how those compare to the 2023 Part 1 crime stats. The first page talks about our vision, our mission statement. Those are pretty, again, this is what drives us as an organization to achieve our goals and how we're going to achieve those goals. On the next page is just a quick summary of the year. And I don't want to read that verbatim. I think that it's pretty boring, to be quite honest, because I wrote it. But it just kind of surmises the highs and lows of the year, the reality of what our people and what we went through as an organization, and still moved us forward. So I appreciate, again, I appreciate you all giving me the opportunity to serve the community of Selma. The next page just talks a little about demographics, how many square miles, our population, those pretty generic things that you can look up on our website or almost any city populace. If we can go to the next page. Now, that's a good looking car right there, I'll tell you. But that car really is a symbol of 2023. More importantly, the police department as a whole and the direction that we're taking. I do appreciate the council's support with the rebranding of the police department. For me, it was very important to attach a symbol that would change the way that we view ourselves and the way that the community views us. And this police unit, I'm so proud of it because when we take it out into public, we get so many compliments. It requires a little more maintenance because you can't run it through a car wash. You have to hand wash it. But like anything in life, anything worth having is worth working for and fighting for. So this vehicle really is something to be proud of. And the new patch, the new badges, the new police department. Again, these are all symbols that show that we're headed in the right direction. And it's representative of our culture and what we're trying to build and nourish here at the Selma Police Department. So our patrol operations, wow. So patrol operations, that's our bread and butter. That's our base. That's what we do day in and day out. It's the first function of every police officer. So as they go through the academy and they go through field training, they get off of field training and they go right on to patrol. I tell our people that, your first 5 years of your career, the work and the dedication you put into it will determine where you're at the last 5 years of your career. And if you work hard and you do the right things with a good heart, at the end of those 5 years, you're going to put yourself in a good position to where you have some options and you're driving your own career. And I firmly believe that because I tried very hard my first 5 years here in Selma to be the best officer that I could. I know that I fell short, but you can't discount luck. So I'm a lucky guy to be a chief of police for the city of Selma. And so the patrol operations, what I want to highlight here is in 2022, we wrote 1,892 citations. In 2023, we wrote 3,192 citations. That's a massive jump in ticket writing. And unfortunately, I know that people don't like tickets, but the reality is it slows people down. It creates visibility, and visibility is a predicate to crime reduction. So I'm super proud of those numbers, and you'll see these numbers translate throughout this presentation. Additionally, of all the calls for service in 2023, 69%, we had a 69% increase in those citation writing. And if we can go on to the next page. So our canine units, if you're watching legislation, canines are a very hot topic issue right now. We have 2 apprehension dogs. So I believe one of those dogs is also faceted, has the ability to do detection for drugs and guns. So I think that in the future, I don't think we'll get rid of our canines, but we're going to transition to canines. They're going to focus on detection. I think that's a much more viable option for us. Plus, we can use animals that maybe don't have the health concerns that these bigger animals do. These animals are beautiful, beautiful creatures. They're wonderful, but their legs going in and out of the vehicle take a beating, and it's unfortunate, and we don't want any animal to suffer. So I think that we can use this same program and tweak it to meet the future of the law enforcement, and more importantly, the future of law enforcement at the Selma Police Department. We had 14 successful apprehensions, and of those 14 apprehensions, there were no suspects bitten. So just that dog's presence gained compliance. So that very proud of that fact. It also shows our officers' restraint and discipline in using that tool. So very, very proud of our personnel for that. The next slide is going to go into support services. Extremely proud of our support services division. Not only did we increase our total calls from 3,210 in 2022, we went to 35,167 in 2023. Mind you, those are just City of Selma calls. Those are not the Parlier calls. That's a completely different statistic. What I'll say is that our staff is by far the best dispatching unit in Fresno County. I know the sheriffs can get upset with that, but I'll take him to lunch. The reality is, I was just at the Fresno County Sheriff's award ceremony last week, and he honored a former Selma Police dispatcher by the name of Teresa Bergamy. She is now the Information Systems Director or lead or supervisor for the Fresno County Sheriff's Department. So that is somebody that came to the city of Selma as a dispatcher. We trained them. They got great experience, and that person went to the sheriff's office and did great things. Fortunately, we weren't able to keep her. But again, it just shows that she got a good base of knowledge and experience while she was here with us. And a lot of our dispatchers that leave us in the past have gone to bigger agencies that have done very well. So when I first came here and we talked about dispatching for the city of Partlier, that was because I felt that I knew, I'm sure I didn't feel, I knew that we had dispatchers that were going to be able to meet the demands that I would expect as a new police chief, but the demands to help other cities and do it at a high level. And to this, knock on wood, we've gotten no complaints from the city of Partlier, nor from the city of Selma with regards to our dispatching. So extremely proud of these young ladies. By the way, and I'll mention this later, it is Dispatcher Appreciation Week. So if you drive in front of the police department, you'll see some big signage there honoring our dispatchers because they do a phenomenal job for us. And we're super excited to build that program and do some great things. Additionally, what I would like to say, of all of those 35,167 calls, 59% of those calls were self-initiated, meaning we did not have a citizen or someone call in for a complaint or call in for service. 59% of those 35,000 calls were initiated by our officers, meaning the officers were on patrol, they saw something, and then they took action and they created their own call for service. So that means we're making more work than we're being asked to produce, if that makes sense at all. Do you have any questions? I'm moving through this pretty quick. Okay. We'll move forward to our school resource officer. 2023, we had one school resource officer. For this coming year, 2023-24, we have two school resource officers. Our school resource officers do a phenomenal job of building engagement with our community, with our students, with our the school staff over at Selma Unified School District. We're extremely proud of them. They were involved in 297 school investigations in 2023, and that is primarily one officer. So what that needless to say, he's extremely busy. You can see Christian Gazar up in the top left picture. He is no longer a school resource officer. He's been assigned to investigations where he is flourishing and doing a phenomenal job for us. But again, you'll see our officers at the school sites. We're really trying to engage more with our kids over at the schools and build those relationships that'll be crucial for our future and their future. And again, we're always recruiting, even at a young age. So very proud of that program. The next slide is going to be code enforcement. And I want to thank City Manager Santillan for allowing me the ability to oversee code enforcement. When I first came in 2022, I knew that we could enhance this program, which we have. I will say that we've lost some code enforcement officers. We've hired code enforcement officers, and we are working diligently at getting them up to speed, identifying issues within the city, and setting expectations. And they do everything, right? From assisting the building department with grading permits and things like that, doing kind of some smaller inspections on stuff, from cleanup into the city, graffiti covering up. Right now, graffiti is really one of our biggest emphasis, and making sure that graffiti, if it goes up, it comes down as soon as possible. And I couldn't do that without Public Works and their help, especially on those public right-of-ways. Additionally, Alex is our new code enforcement officer. He'll get introduced later. He's with Mike's director, Mike Hahn's direction. He contacted and reached out to Nelson Hardware and Home Depot, and both companies have donated paint that we can use for some of our citizens. whose property gets vandalized and maybe doesn't have the money to purchase the paint, we're able to help them so to get that graffiti taken down. So we're not just saying, hey, here's a citation or here's a warning, you gotta get it taken care of. We're really going above and beyond to assist our community to get that taken care of, because they don't, it's not their fault that their property got vandalized. The reality is we have people in our community that just don't show the respect that is due to our community members. In our next slide, we have a records division. So we have two records division personnel. When I got here, I know we were closed sometimes at lunch and certain days. I don't even remember now, but with both of these, Tony and Tina, they're our new records clerks. They've been here with us for at least a year, almost a year and a half. And they've done a phenomenal job getting up to speed. I think that they have great capacity to do other things. So we're very excited at the future for them. But now our records or lobby is open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. And which offers more support to our community members. And we're super excited to have them. In that slide also is our online reporting. A lot of our younger community members are very familiar with, filling things out online. They prefer that. In fact, they don't want to be in contact with somebody in person. They'd rather just fill it online. And now they have the ability to do that. So that records online reporting system is a great added benefit to our community. The next slide is our detectives unit. What can I say about these guys other than they're extremely busy, and we're very proud to have them. I know that they get a lot of late calls and calls away from the family, but they never complain. They get out there and do the work. And in the next coming months, you'll hear about how we're going to enhance our investigations unit. It's going to kind of help not just investigations, but patrol as well, and really give us the ability to be much more effective and efficient when we have critical events. But our one kind of key point is beyond the investigations, they also maintain our sex registrants to make sure that they're in compliance. So they do a phenomenal job for us over investigations. The next slide is Range Master. This year we got new weapons. Our old weapons were about 10 years old, which is about the kind of life of firearms in our industry. So after 10 years, we try to phase those out, get new firearms in so that we know that we have great equipment so when our personnel are out on the street and dealing with these critical events, they feel safe and secure and know that they have the best equipment. So we had to retrain our personnel with this new firearm. That took it 4 hours of training per person, new qualifications. So 8 hours total, 4 hours in the classroom, 4 hours out in the field shooting. I'll tell you the new firearm is awesome. It's extremely efficient. It's great quality, and a lot of other agencies in our valley are using that firearm. So we're super proud of this new equipment and the training that we provide our personnel. So they don't just do point and shoot. They have target identification. They have shooting on the move, things that are going to elevate blood pressure, elevate, tension within someone, because the reality is when we get into these critical events, it's not in a box, it's not in a window, it's not in a contained area, it's in a very fluid and volatile area, and that stress and that blood pressure are going to be absolutely crucial to containing so that we can deal with the threat and get everybody home safely. In our next slide is our property and evidence. Property and evidence, what I'll say is that we had a slight increase in 2023. 293 items were drug related, and 7 cases were actually confirmed fentanyl were located within that sample. So what I'll say is fentanyl is not just in Fresno, it's not just in metropolitan areas, it's everywhere. So we're very proud that we contained, or at least, seized all that property, and we were safe, and none of our officers got sick in processing those narcotics. So extremely proud of what we done in 2023. We went from 1,841 pieces of evidence to 2,030 pieces of evidence. So again, that just goes to the work that our people are doing. And extremely proud of that work product. The next slide, we'll go to crime statistics. This is the big one, right? The DOJ Part 1 crime stats. What I will say is that overall, I don't think we got fully staffed till about December of 2023. You all know we got off to a tragic start in January of 23. But amidst the tragedy, amidst the loss, and the heartbreak, not only did our personnel, we kept them focused, they stayed focused, they stayed dedicated, so much so that they decreased our Part 1 crime stats by 19% when you compare that to 2022. That's an incredible number, given the tragedy events. And that's a credit to our personnel, to our patrol, actually all of our personnel, staying focused, remembering that they still have a community to serve, and they did it with pride and professionalism. And I could not be more proud of our sworn and non-sworn personnel, because it takes everybody within the organization to be able to come together and continue to serve our community. In 2022, we arrested 1,393 suspects. That could be anywhere from a warrant arrest to an open charge. In 2023, 1,715, almost 400 or 300 more people. So again, a credit to their hard work. We reduced domestic violence, went from 68 incidents in 22 to 64 in 23, and we look to drive that number down the best we can. We're working with Marjorie Mason Center, as is every agency in Fresno County, with the ability of providing them better information so they can go after grant monies and provide services and education to victims of these types of crimes, which is much needed, because I think through education comes compliance and lets those victims know that they do have an out, they do have resources out there for them to get themselves out of the situation. So, it's very crucial that we comprise that data and get it to the Marjorie Mason Center, because they're the experts and they help guide us in best practice and how we serve our victims with regards to these crimes. The next slide I'm extremely proud of. It doesn't, goodness gracious, I believe our 2022 year ended with about 24 to 26 guns seized. In 2023, we recovered 58 firearms. Those are illegal firearms in the hands of people that should not possess them for one reason or another. And this is just a small picture. It doesn't capture all of the guns that we've seized, but some of these guns are a little more assault rifles. Those are high capacity magazines. These weapons are meant to cause a great bodily injury and death. So taking these firearms off the street make it extremely much more safe for our community members and our personnel. So I'm very proud of that number, 58, and we hope to exceed that number in 2024. And again, thank you again for approving the position that we put over the ATF. If I may do a little plug, that officer assigned to ATF now is assigned to a federal task force where their sole emphasis is to find guns, find people that manufacture guns, people that order parts, put guns together, and then sell them to community members. Additionally, let's say some of these guns here in this picture did not have the serial numbers were scraped off or weren't registered. That officer is going to be able to go back to the manufacturer, find out where that gun was built, when it was built, and backtrack it from when it left the manufacturer all the way to the vendors, with the hopes of trying to figure out how that gun got out into a felon's hands. So little things like that. It seems small, but once our criminal element knows that we're going to stop at no lengths to add charges, continue investigations, it lets them know that we're not going to tolerate that activity and that we're going to use every resource within our power to deal with it appropriately. And hopefully they'll just decide to go somewhere else. Because if they're in the city of Selma with a gun, using it illegally, we're going to do everything we can to take it away from them, and then not stop there, find more guns. Because if they have one, they have more. And that's our commitment to dealing with those dangerous criminals. The next couple pages what I'll say is community outreach. Since I've been here, we've really tried to buckle down on engagement. What I'll say, the one challenge that I thought when I came to Selma, I really wanted to be out in the community more, but it's extremely difficult to get out of that office. But what I'll say is, though it's hard for me to get out of the office, our staff are dedicated to outreach. They're dedicated to engaging with our community. And these are just a few pictures that depict that. So it's wonderful to see all these faces out there engage with our community, and I don't have to be the one doing it. Although I probably am the best looking, so, I should be out there. But, that's just potato. Our last page, our second to last page, again, just kind of depicts more of that community support. I know we do pop-up events, and we're not selling anything, but I know we've kind of commanded some street corners and come out with hot dogs and drinks and chips and just try to have an organic conversation with our community members. No planning, just impromptu, and I think that works best. You catch people out in their front yards, doing the lawn, playing catch with their kids and having that conversation was really special. We also made some of our cadets walk around and invite people around the block and say, hey, come on over and have a hot dog and some chips, right? And that's important because then we're showing our cadets the expectation, the importance of that community engagement, right? It's not just at that moment in that corner, in that small area. We're going to expand out beyond that. So modeling that behavior for our cadets, soon to be officers, is important and paramount to our success at the Selma Police Department and the future for the city of Selma with regards to law enforcement. And lastly, and most importantly, is just we absolutely have to honor Gonzalo and his example, right? Gonzalo was such a great guy with a great smile, and we'll forever miss him. There's no words that I can say that capture the commitment, dedication this young man gave to the city of Selma, but the profession as a whole and what he stood for. His whole life was predicated on serving the community, and he gave it to do so. And I'll leave it at that because there's no other words that I can say to capture this young man's bravery and heroism. And lastly, on the back picture, back pages, just they caught me playing catch with the youngster. So hopefully we'll turn this young lady, I believe her name is Jade, we'll turn her into a police officer in about 20 years. But she was a great young lady with a great smile. So we're super happy to be out and engaging with our community members. And I know that was quick. I hate to read off the script, so I hope I've answered all your questions, but I'm here to field any questions that the council may have.
Any input from the council? Anything from the public? Can you stand up and address the audience? Council.
So firearms get seized a multitude of different ways. It could be a vehicle stop. It could be a crime that we're investigating. It could be a search warrant that we wrote. It could be a search warrant that we wrote after a vehicle stop. It's a multitude of ways.
Thank you. Anybody online or on the phone?
As a reminder to the callers online, please use your raise your hand feature and we will add you to the meeting queue. For those calling in, please use *9 to raise your virtual hand. Mayor Robertson, at this time, I see no hands raised.
Thank you. That's just a question for the chief. With the greater number of arrests made, do you think that took a bite out of the class one, the decrease in the class one crimes?
I hope so. That vehicle stops, visibility is a key deterrent. If I may, in Fowler, I had 2 officers on patrol at any given time. Yeah, so we parked patrol cars off the freeway. What I'd like to say is a few times that I'm able to get out and away from the office, whether to put gas or get my car washed, I commonly see patrol vehicles traveling our major thoroughfares, Floral Avenue, Whitson, McCall, Second Street, so that when people are getting off the freeway, they're seeing a patrol car, and we're planting that seed of safety in those, in the minds of those motorists. And again, we're always looking to enhance that, right? But I think that visibility is a huge crime deterrent, and crime lends itself well to crime reduction. So we look to enhance that. You know, we're getting staffed up a little bit better. We're going to do some things in the coming months that the council will hear about. I will say that I don't like to talk about things that we're going to do. I like to talk about things that have been done, because I'm you know as well as I do. There's always obstacles and hurdles and adversities that we have to overcome. And if I say, oh, we're going to do it on January 1st and it doesn't happen, you know, there's things that get thrown into our lives that just, we have to respect those hurdles and respect moving 60 people into a direction. So, but that's going, what we plan to do is going to drastically enhance visibility, and send a message to our, that criminal element within our community that we're not going to, tolerate that activity anymore.
Well, you know, with the threats that are constantly evolving, it just seems like you've got something new thrown at you every day. You've got ghost guns, you got drones that could be used for good or bad. Really happy to see the department getting current with the body worn cameras. I think it's a real step forward. And the cameras around town too. You know, those are always good. That's been around for a while, but you know, that's I think been a very positive deterrent as well.
Absolutely. In 2024's presentation will be extremely well, because it's really going to double down on technology, analytics, and the use of those to make us, our current labor force, much more streamlined, much more efficient. So very excited for 24.
And I
I'm
love seeing
hoping-
the substations in the capital improvement plan.
Yeah.
Get where those crimes are happening too. I think that's really important as well. And that, you know, a multifaceted approach is, our citizens deserve nothing less than a top flight public safety.
I do agree.
Okay, with that, that's an information item. We'll now move on to requests for future agenda items. Do any council members have requests for future agenda items at this time? Okay, with that, we'll move on to staff reports. City manager?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. First of all, Chief, great presentation. You know, it's fantastic to see the progress that our police chief has made in, you know, turning around the culture within that department, raising the standard of performance. And as he alluded to with regard to the current year, 2024, you know, with the addition of animal services, you know, greater emphasis on analytics and surveillance and, you know, technological tools at our disposal, I think we'll see a greater impact to our public safety here. As we continue to grow, we'll have to keep up with the challenges, the public safety challenges that come with that growth. So keep up the great work, Chief. Great presentation. And, you know, in that same vein, I'd like to thank all the department heads for all their continued hard work. You know, I think every department right now is performing at probably the highest level that it has, you know, at least since I've been here at the city. So thank you for all your hard work, and would like to point out over the next few weeks, the public will see some changes to our lobby and reception area, and these are changes related to safety as well as to just efficiency in providing service to the public. So please pardon our dust while we make those changes, but I think you'll be extremely, you know, happy with the result and how much better we can provide services to the community. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, city attorney.
Nothing to report.
Right. Deputy city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Staff met with one of our selected consultants to begin work on the storm drain master plan, which is dovetailing with the Parks Master Plan, because they do have some similarities in terms of dual use possibilities for basin and park facilities. So I want to thank Public Works and Recreation for their work on both those items, but that is going forward. And then additionally, I wanted to thank my lovely wife. Today is our 1 year anniversary, and I know she's watching, so
All
just want to
right.
thank her as well.
Happy anniversary. And you'll be home soon. All right, Administrative Services Director.
Nothing to report.
We don't have Community Services tonight. Fire Chief Jordan Webster.
Just give a brief update on our recruitment efforts this last week. We put five, excuse me, five candidates through for captain in their final phase of interviews, and we'll be making final selections this week. And then the last week as well, we had a group of full-time paramedics go through their recruitment process and a handful of per diem folks. And so we're hoping that out of those, we'll have some good candidates to help fill our current vacancies to help the folks out on the floor, because those guys are working hard.
That's good. Thank you, Chief. City Clerk, Public Information Officer.
Mayor, members of the council, today is the first day of spring cleanup. As we all know, this is a week-long event starting with today through Saturday. The location of the community drop-off is going to be at the Jefferson Avenue Transfer Station, located on the corners of Villa and Jefferson Avenue. With the location, it should be noted that the hours are extended. So from Monday through Friday, the hours are 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Saturday, they are 6 a.m. to noon. Along with that event, we also continue with the Freeway Caltrans project. So we all know we are on the last phase. Caltrans is anticipating that this phase is going to be finished in May, and we are hopeful that that is the case and that it is hopeful that it is about a week earlier, but we're keeping our fingers crossed for that. The Highland and Rose project is scheduled to start April 22nd. The project duration is about 30 days and will only include lane closures on Highland Avenue. So no road or street closures, just lane closures for that. And along with that, we also have the Valley View Storm Drain Project, which the current phase is calling for a street closure on Valley View from Sheridan to McCall. Detour signs are in place, and we're hopeful that this project is moving forward. And that's all I have.
Do we know if and when those stop signs will be removed?
So the stop signs, the temporary stop signs on Second Street should be removed by, we're hoping the end of this month.
Okay. Thank you for that report. Public Works Director.
Mayor, council members, a few things to update you on. We are currently working vigorously on utilizing the resources that we have for street signs. We're trying to get all of those out with what blanks we have currently before the new fiscal budget, and then we'll continue working on those as requested by council throughout the new fiscal year. So we are working on that. We're also completing the storm drain cleaning that I've been updating you on for the last couple of months. We have a couple weeks left of this month before we'll be getting rid of that piece of equipment. And so we'll have a lot of stuff identified, future presentation on storm drain and what we've uncovered during the cleaning process that will be presented at a later council meeting. We're also working with Parks and Recs Department to generate an asset list for the Parks Master Plan. So we are using a couple of our resources to go through and identify those resources or those assets rather in the parks for that master plan. We are also getting ready to, the city engineer and I are working on the RFP. The fence repairs for Brettlinger were justifying a RFP, a formal bid selection for that. So we are putting that together. That will go to the paper this Friday, first advertised next Wednesday, second Wednesday, the week after, and then it will go to actual bids. So we are working to get that done as well. We also will be attending with my street maintenance crew in the industrial park tomorrow morning. We have the new thermal striping machine. And so we're actually going to do the fire up and the initial training for that machine so that we can start addressing some of the minor striping issues around town, as well as the signs for the safety purposes. And that's all I have.
Q. Police Chief Alcaraz.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, in front of you, you have the DOJ Part One crime stats for March of 2024. And those numbers are there for you. On the back is the DOJ Part One crime stat mapping throughout the city. If you have any questions. We also seized 5 firearms in March of 2024. I'm hoping April we have some better numbers. Additionally is a flyer with the City of Selma Animal Services. These are the shelter service statistics for the month of March. What I would say also is that in the month of March, we had a 56% return rate to owner, which is far above the national average. Nationally, it's about 3 to 5%. So that's just the work that our animal services technicians are committed to. Once an animal is found, they go back out the next few days to the same area with the hopes of finding the owners, and they're very successful apparently at doing that. Additionally, they are really focused on outreach, right? So on April 3rd, they were in Reedley at the Reedley Night Market. On April 6th and April 13th, they were at Summer Fox Brewing event. So taking our animals from our shelter out regionally with the hopes of getting them adopted. And then on April 11th and April 24th, they'll be at Gazebo Gardens in the city of Fresno, again, trying to get these animals to homes. So we're extremely proud of those numbers, and they continue to do a phenomenal job for us. And if you have any no questions, I'd like to highlight a prior update that I gave on April 3rd with regards to an arrest we made of some suspects that were involved in mail theft. So our patrol division made an arrest on April 3rd. They arrested those suspects, booked them in Fresno County Jail. Our investigations unit then took the case over, did some follow-up investigations, wrote a search warrant to a home in the city of Fresno, where they arrested 3 individuals. I'm sorry. We arrested 2 individuals. Fresno Police Department arrested 1 individual. A subject by the name of Thomas Vang and Koa Vang were arrested in the city of Fresno for possession. I couldn't even tell you all the charges. It was a lot. But what they did find was numerous mail keys, several broken United States Post Office box locks, hundreds of pieces of mail and identity theft belonging to various victims throughout the state. They also found key sketches and handcrafted rubber molds of mail keys. So these individuals were making keys so that when your mailbox got broken into, there was no damage because they were essentially opening it with a key. They had multiple document scanners with washed checks, meaning they had taken checks, had cleaned the checks, and were going to produce checks in their names or someone's names for fraudulent purposes. They had a 50-gallon container where they had to use a 50-gallon container because that's how much mail they were taking to burn up the evidence. Additionally, the United States postal workers or inspectors were with us on the service of that search warrant, and they explained they had never seen methods that these suspects had used to break in a mailbox. That's how sophisticated they were. So, you know, again, our patrol division made an arrest. They didn't leave it there. They handed it off to investigations. They took it, wrote more search warrants, and made more arrests. So much so that we had to notify the Postal Service of the magnitude of this investigation. So we reached out to the Postal Service to bring them along. They didn't come to us. We went to them. Again, that just speaks to the work that we're doing. And I'm super proud of our investigations unit, extremely proud of our patrol unit, and all the staff that go into making cases like this and putting them together. So what I would say is that, you know, just because it's mail theft and it's essentially not a violent crime, you know, all those victims that had to go and get their driver's license renewed, or call the creditors, or change bank cards, change their checking accounts, the inconvenience that they had to go through, and the people that suffered because of that. We don't take those, we did not take that lightly. I didn't even know our investigations unit was doing that. They took it upon themselves. So they just took the ball and ran with it. And again, super proud of the staff and their work and their dedication. So I just want to give a big shout out to them. And if you don't have any questions, I promise I'll stop talking tonight.
Quick question, federal warrant or would that be a local warrant?
We arrested them on local state charges. That does not mean, so with federal cases, they take a little more time to cultivate. But right now they're in custody. We have a good, strong case on our state local charges. That doesn't mean that the feds can't later pick up that case.
How many years do they typically get for something like this?
Mayor, a long time ago, what I learned in my career that I never, once I did my investigation and handed the case over to the DA's office, I knew I did everything I could. I don't pay attention to what happens after that or how many years they're gonna get because it's never enough. And it just drives you crazy because you had to write all this work, you spent time away from the family. It would just drive you crazy knowing you did all this work and they were out. They probably got home before I got back to the office and started typing. So I kind of don't follow up on that. I apologize. It's just not something that I look into because I just believe it's never enough.
Got it. Thank you. Thanks for that. Thanks for all your work on that. Council reports, Councilmember Mendoza Navarro.
First, I want to say congratulations to all the dispatchers for Dispatcher Appreciation Week. I know that they do a very, it's a hard job to do that, and it's very much appreciated. As I mentioned at the last meeting, I was on my way to Washington, D.C. For a housing conference, and we met with Senator Padilla's office and actually their staffers, and also Congressman McClintock's staff. And then we did meet with Congressman Duarte and Congressman Costa. And basically the focus was about housing. One of the things that I wanted to highlight, because I know we've had conversations and I know that we are going to be talking about homelessness here in, in the upcoming meetings. And one of the things that was highlighted was in California, nationwide, there are 653,100 homeless people in the United States. Out of that, that's 186,084 families, 35,574 veterans, and that's nationwide. In California alone, it's 181,399, which is 28% of the population in the nation. 71,320 homeless are individuals that are in the Los Angeles City and County area. And these are because they're on any given night. These are people that are unsheltered on any given night. So that's 11% of the US homeless population. That was a 6.2% increase in California alone. And that's, on the rise. Unsheltered is 123,423. And this is accounting for half of all unsheltered people in the country. And so, one of the things as housers, there were 41 states represented in Washington this week or this last week. And out of California, there were 100 members throughout the state of California. And so we had, some really good conversations, and there are some bills out there that are, that we're lobbying for to have more housing, not just affordable housing, not just housing for the homeless, which is permanent supportive housing, but housing in general. We talked about the kids that are like in their late 20s and 30s that are still living at home because they can't afford to, live out on their own. And so what type of housing do we need for that population? And so there was a lot of good conversations with that. And so, I mean, the biggest picture or the biggest takeaway was, we need housing. Two, we need those partnerships to be able to, develop those housing and, with the local leaders to make sure that we're passing basically like helping the developers so that we can create the housing that we need. And hopefully we won't have any of that NIMBYism, not in my backyard type of attitude, because, ultimately we're all every single one of us either can be or know of someone that can be homeless within 1 or 2 paychecks. And so the other thing that I did attend a Kingsburg Catholic Women's Club Spring Luncheon this weekend. It was a really nice event with the neighboring women in the area. And then also I attended the 30th Annual Sikh Parade, and that was nice. It did rain a lot, so a lot of things got postponed, but it was still a nice event. And Congressman Costa was there too, so it was like, hey, I remember you. Didn't I just see you this week? But yeah, overall, that's basically what I have today.
Thank you. Councilmember Trujillo.
First, I want to congratulate the police department for all the hard work and this good graph you showed us. I really appreciate it. Also want to just do a shout out to the dispatchers for their week. I hope they have a good week, and I'm sure you're going to provide something good for them. Just, April 1st, we had a city council meeting, and somewhere or another, I guess 10 agencies received my business phone number, and they called my office in regards to the approval or myself not approving the LGBT waiver of the fee. And I wanted to do a little clarify because I spoke to everyone and they understood reason why I voted no. So I want to just do a clarification so the public can know is, last year the city council approved a policy, and the policy was that we would not issue any kind of waivers. Only nonprofits would get the waiver. Not only was there a policy, there was a resolution. In order for this council and for the city and to staff and to give staff the leeway to understand it, use it as a whip, that's what I explained to every agency. I think I went from the national, the state to the county, that everybody called my office, and it was funny, and it was beautiful because I was able to express to them that if you look at it, it wasn't the LGP actually requesting to just wave the flag. It was an actual fee waiver. It was an actual amount. It's going to impact the city. And there was actually a legislative, the legislators here approved the policy and approved the resolution to not approve any waivers, but only nonprofits. So just to make sure that I clarify that part, and we had a really good discussion. They were really proud they were happy that I was able to explain to them. So I thought maybe come out and just say, what, on my notes, just explain to them the process of my thought of what was going on and what it was. It actually represents that I'm actually sticking with what I do approve. If I approve a resolution that states we're going to do X, Y, and Z, that's what I'm gonna stick with. So that's where it was at. That's one. The other one is, just like typical, today is tax day. Today's April 15th. It comes on my office has already filed 365 extensions to right now. So I just ask and tell everyone, if you haven't filed your taxes, you got till 12 o'clock midnight. Don't call my office. We're probably gonna close in about an hour. But anyway, file an extension to do something like that. Thank you.
Councilmember Guerra.
I just want to say, I did attend the Sikh parade yesterday, and it was a beautiful event, like always. It did rain, but it cleared up after, I'd say, about 12 o'clock, and they got a lot of people still attended. So it was a beautiful service, and I just want to say how thankful their staff was to our city staff, that we went over and above to make this happen for them. And they were very appreciative of it. And that's what it's about. That's what it's about, is coming together and helping each other when we're going to do an event, because Selma comes together, and it was beautiful. So I want to thank everybody. I want to thank the staff, PD, ROTC. Those kids did a great job. They got 70 kids out there to help out. So that was wonderful work for them as well. I do want to say, I want to give kudos to Sergeant Alvarez for stepping in. He did a great job. I think he was a little nervous, it being probably one of his first times going up and speaking, but he did a great job, and he really represented Selma PD very well. So you got to give him some kudos for that. And then other than that, that's pretty much for me. I just again want to thank our dispatchers. Want to really appreciate that we go over and above to appreciate our staff and give them something so that they really realize that they are, they're doing a great job. They're phenomenal and we appreciate them. So kudos to our staff for doing that. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I'd like to thank the chief police of Air, Rody, that you had a great report. I feel, you know, with your department, that you're doing a great job, so I feel pretty safe here. I did also attend the Sikh temple celebration yesterday, and it was really, it's a cultural thing, but it's just beautiful to be able to see the diversity in our city. Then I did a ribbon cutting this week. It was a new business, it's downtown. It's I&T Flooring is off of First Street. It's like across from Foster Freeze. So there's a new shop in town. I was also, one of my other jobs, I was a docent at my Chinese American Museum project this weekend, and it was raining, but we still had like 20 people come through. So people are looking into histories and stuff, and it's really neat to be able to see the people. And also this week, we will have a chamber mixer will be at the Bethel Village on Wednesday at 5 o'clock. So everybody's welcome to, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. I attended the Niagara Keratin celebration yesterday too. Was proud to be a proponent of the waiver of the fees for this cultural event because it's every year, and for 30 years it stood the test of time. It's a real testament to the diversity and the tolerance of our community, and I don't think we can go too far in showing that we're a diverse community and being tolerant of people whose cultures we may not be familiar with, but whom we accept. I mean, that's what Selma is all about, accepting other cultures as part of us, part of our DNA. And it makes me very proud to be in this community. It makes me proud to vote for waivers when I do. I actually did vote against the Pride waiver when they did not have a nonprofit that was accredited, but they came back, followed the rules, and then I did vote for them to be able to raise their flag at the Art Center. And yesterday was a great day, even though it rained. It was still so perfect because that's an event commemorating agriculture and the renewal of our land, and the water is so welcome and just great to have that in our community, and to see the Sikh community have that and have this event commemorating agriculture is very important. I attended an SKF meeting. I had breakfast at Antonio's, our newest restaurant in Selma. Very good. And I also wanted to thank the Rotary for their invitation to deliver a State of the City presentation tomorrow. President Shar, I've been working on that for about a week now, so hopefully it'll be good. I'll try not to make it too long, but looking forward to address the business folks who are members of Rotary tomorrow on that as an update on the city. And with that, I want to thank everybody for coming out, and thank you for attending the city council. Good night.